Epic Originals presents Bark Park, The Popped Ball. Written by Brandy Doherty. Illustrated by Paige Pooler. Performed by Emily Lawrence. It was a beautiful day at Bark Park. The sun shone brightly, but it wasn't too hot. A nice breeze blew through, making Scout's large, fawn-colored ears twitch. It was the perfect day to sit in the shade and munch on blueberries, Scout's absolute favorite snack. And maybe, just maybe, she thought, a mystery might pop up. Scout came to the dog park every day, and all the dogs knew her. She was the smallest dog in the park, but what Scout lacked in size, she made up for in smarts. Scout was something of a dog detective, and, as luck would have it, Bark Park always seemed to have a mystery that needed solving. Scout stood on a bench, eating blueberries from a little tin bowl and surveying the dogs who had already gathered in a large, dusty play spot. Maggie, the golden doodle, was lying on her back with her favorite ball in her mouth. Her legs kicked in the air like she was dancing upside down. "This is the best," Maggie said around the ball. Maggie was rarely without a ball of some kind, but the red squishy plastic one was her favorite. Maggie bicycled her legs one more time and then jumped up and ran in wide circles at top speed. Even on the hottest summer day, when every other dog was panting in the shade or slurping from the water fountain, Maggie had endless energy. How she managed that was one mystery Scout couldn't solve. A few feet from Maggie, in the shade of the biggest tree in Bark Park, lay Gus. Gus's large jowls were spread in the dirt as he snored through his short, wide nose. He was an English bulldog who had buried more toys than he could count, and he was by far the oldest dog at the park. Sprinkles entered through the gate, growling at a dog who was taking too long to get inside. Then he walked over and barked, "Hey, Maggie, how about a turn with your ball?" Maggie opened her mouth to reply, and the ball fell to the ground and rolled over to Gus. She leaped over and pounced on the ball, accidentally knocking into the old bulldog and waking him from his nap. "Not right now, Sprinkles," Maggie told the little terrier. She picked up the ball and jogged over to the fence. "Maggie never shares," Sprinkles huffed. He turned and scratched his back paws in the dirt to kick up dust in her direction. Rocky sat down next to Sprinkles and licked his paw. "But it's Maggie's ball," he pointed out. His eyes grew big and serious. "You don't want to get in trouble with Maggie's human." "You know, Maggie's ball looks a lot like my ball," Gus said, as he yawned in his spot under the tree. "I have a red ball, too. And I don't see it." Scout's ears perked in Gus's direction. If Gus's ball was missing, there might be a mystery to solve. Suddenly, Maggie dropped her ball and raised her head, sniffing the air. "Treats!" she barked. All of the dogs turned at once. Maggie's human was known for bringing treats for everyone. She sat on a bench near the park entrance with an open bag of pooch puffs. Dogs ran toward her from every direction. They barked with excitement, waiting for their snacks. Once the treat bag was empty, the dogs went back to the dusty play spot, except Maggie, who had spotted her ball near the fence. But it didn't look the same. It was popped, out of air, flat as a pancake. "My ball!" she cried. Who popped my ball? Maggie jumped in a circle around the sad lump of red plastic. The other dogs began to gather nearby. Scout's eyes widened. A mystery. She walked slowly to the center of the circle. She was calm. She was cool. She would handle this. She opened her mouth to speak. A tiny burp came out. "Excuse me." Scout gave a low growl to clear her throat. What's the problem, Maggie?" Maggie was still doing laps around her deflated toy. She stopped every third or fourth time around to poke the ball with her nose. "Someone popped my favorite red ball. Look, there are teeth marks." I see," Scout said. "Maybe Sprinkles did it," Maggie barked, fixing her eyes on the small terrier at the edge of the circle. "He wanted my ball." "I was getting a treat, just like everyone else," Sprinkles protested. Scout looked closely at Sprinkles. Then she turned back to Maggie and inspected the ball. The teeth marks had been left by a dog with big, widely spaced teeth. "Do you think it could have been Gus?" Rocky asked, looking unsure about calling out the old bulldog. "He thought Maggie's ball was his. Maybe he took it by mistake." Scout turned in Gus's direction. As Gus shifted in the dirt, Scout caught sight of something round in a hole in the ground under his leg. She turned her attention back to the popped ball. There was a small scrap of tinfoil in the dirt next to it. She glanced around the park again, and then up into the trees. Scout cleared her throat. "These teeth marks are too big to have been made by Sprinkles. Plus, he has crumbs on his nose. He must have been getting treats from Maggie's human when the ball was popped." "I told you it wasn't me," Sprinkles grumbled as he licked his nose clean. The teeth marks could have come from Gus, but he didn't leave his spot under the tree, and I can see his red ball under his leg. If he'd gotten up, he definitely would have found his own ball, not Maggie's," Scout said. Gus turned his head to look beneath his leg. "Hey, I found my ball," he snorted. "I think the teeth marks are from you, Maggie, because I know you like to chew on the ball, but you never pop it," Scout said. Maggie nodded. "Okay, so then what happened?" she asked. Her ears drooped low against her head. Scout turned to look at the trees one more time. She walked in a slow circle, waiting until the dogs had all stopped barking. They sat, tails thumping, waiting for her to speak. "I believe it might have... Hiccup! Excuse me. I believe it might have been Abigail, the crow," she finally announced. The other dogs gasped in surprise just as Abigail let out a loud caw. Scout flipped the ball over, revealing another tiny set of holes. "Abigail likes to collect shiny things. This piece of tinfoil must have gotten stuck to the ball when Maggie dropped it to get her treat. Abigail could have swooped down to grab the tinfoil, but popped the ball and got scared off instead." Abigail cawed again. "Sorry, Maggie." "Well done, Scout," the dogs all barked at once. Scout nodded and headed back to her bench. Her human came over and poured out a big pile of blueberries. Scout lapped up the berries hungrily. She didn't want a nosy bird to get to them first. Do crows like shiny things? In the popped ball, Abigail, the crow, can't resist a piece of tinfoil. But do all crows love to pick up shiny objects? Crows belong to a family of birds called corvids, which also includes magpies and ravens. Young corvids are very curious, much like young humans, making them especially drawn to bright, shiny objects. As they fly, Crows can spot reflective items like tinfoil easily, and their curiosity often leads them to swoop down and pick up the shiny objects they see. In fact, a young girl in Seattle made a whole collection of beads and colored glass that crows dropped in her yard after she fed them.